We don't earn money, we create it. And when you learn how to do that, you become free in your life. We have to have the courage to say what we want and then break it down into real, actionable, tangible steps. All right, if I know I want to make $1,000, how can I get there as quickly as possible in a way that is in alignment with my values and allows me to, have the business that I want to create for myself. What's up, everyone? This is Tiyana Robinson, and you're listening to Dreams and Drive.
Hey, Dream Drivers. Welcome to episode 309 of the Dreams and Drive podcast. And today we have a special throwback episode. We are throwing it all the way back to episode 214 with Tiyana Robinson. And you're going to learn about how she went from being a marketing director to makeup mogul. Tiyana is going to break down how we as creatives can really use our gifts to create money and live the lives that we dream of. To give you guys some background on Tiyana, she is a professional makeup artist and also the founder of Makeup Mogul University, which is the world's first online business school for professional makeup artists. And we talk a lot in this episode about her journey, the importance of differentiating yourself, why you have to really not be afraid to talk about how dope you are, the idea of having strategy in your business. And the part of the episode that I think you guys will enjoy is when Tiyana gets really personal about a story she was telling herself about her own life and how getting clarity on that completely changed everything. If you love this episode, please make sure that you share it with a friend, screenshot it, post it to your Instagram stories, post it on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dreams and Drive. And you can also use the hashtag Dreams and Drive when sharing as well. And remember, guys, if you want to be part of our weekly newsletter, The Keys, I send it out once a week, every Wednesday. You can sign up at dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. I love getting to communicate with you guys, and we have a lot of special announcements that if you are on the list, you will hear about it first. As always, make sure you're subscribed to this wherever you're listening. Let's get into the episode. Hi, Tiyana. Welcome to Dreams and Drive.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today. I know we're going to get into it.
Excited too. We were just talking about how it's always so, the universe really does align sometimes when you have people reach out to you and they've been on your radar. So Tiyana actually reached out to me, but she's been somebody that's been on my screenshot list of people that I need to reach out to for such a long time. So I'm happy that it's coming full circle.
Yes. No, I love Dreams and Drive. So I was like, let me see if we can have a conversation. And I was so excited that you were open to it. So here we are. And I hope that we have a really insightful conversation about, going from creative to entrepreneur.
Yeah, because, a lot of us who are listening, or a lot of people who are listening in, that's one of the biggest things, right? How do you take all your creative skills and really scale that so that you can make a living off of it and you're just not known as the little creative artist that wanted to do something, right? You're actually out here making moves. But Tiyana, were you always a creative? Like when you were growing up, was this the dream?
Yes and no. I've always been a creative person. So I've always done some kind of expression, whether it's dance, whether it's, whatever. Makeup has always been a part of my life. I never thought I would be a makeup artist at all. I knew that I wanted to be in beauty in some capacity. I actually thought that I would be a cosmetic chemist, which is crazy. And the reason I wanted to be a cosmetic chemist is because I was that little girl I was doing way too much in the beauty aisle, way too young. And I had such a hard time finding shades that could match me. And I'm not even like a deep brown girl, right? So I was like, ooh, maybe I can make makeup one day. So that was the vision. And I always say I kind of fell into actually doing makeup. I started doing makeup when I was laid off from my full-time job. And, again, this whole conversation about the universe aligning and like putting you exactly where you need to be when you need to be there. I am so thankful for the experience of being laid off, even though it didn't feel good in the moment, because at the moment I was like, my life is over. But thank God for that, because had I not been in that moment of discomfort and that moment of, perceived failure, I never would have said yes to doing makeup when, a friend of my husband asked me. So that's just kind of how I got into it. But no, I kind of fell into it, and I'm so happy for it.
Did you know? It's funny that you mentioned that you wanted to be a cosmetic chemist, because when I was a child, I never even knew that those type of things existed. I didn't know actually until... So my mom used to put us into these little summer programs at our, there's this place called New Jersey Institute of Technology, and they had this pre-engineering program for young girls. And I remember one summer, I forgot what type of engineering it was, but I think it was chemical engineering, actually. We went and visited the L'Oreal factory. So we got to see how they made all the lipsticks and how they made all the actual cosmetics. And that's the moment for me that I realized, wow, this world exists.
Right. I'm trying to remember what that moment was for me when I realized I had to have been earlier. I thought I always kind of knew that somebody had to make it. But I'm trying to remember what that moment is for me. It's so funny because I also in high school did an immersion program kind of like that. It was at Seton Hall. Yeah, I'm from New Jersey too. And it was at Seton Hall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, girl, Jersey girl.
I did see you had that 973 in your number. Yeah. I was like, oh.
So my program was called Upward Bound. I have a feeling that I was exposed to it during Upward Bound as well. But so I just wanted to be the person who could create solutions for girls who look like me. And I feel like that has been a reoccurring theme in my life is how do I create solutions? How do I, bring forth answers to people who are looking for things? Even as a makeup artist, I'm creating solutions in my business and in my life. So that just kind of connected the dots for me. I'm like, oh, I'm truly a creator in everything that I touch.
So you went to the University of New Mexico, right?
I did.
Wow, so you went from Jersey to New Mexico, and you were an athlete and also trying to manage classes. What was the epiphany moment for you about your career during college? I know you had this epiphany.
I did. More than an epiphany, it was like my butt was failing. I wanted to keep my scholarship. So, when you are a D1 athlete, I ran track and I did track and field.
What event?
I did high jump. So I wasn't even a runner, I was a jumper. But when you're a D1 athlete, it's like, that's your job. And they work you. And so we had practice at 6 a.m. and then we'd have to go to class and I have to come back to practice. And, a chemistry major is serious. And so I really had a tough time balancing the rigor of a chemistry major and this career as a D1 athlete. And so I had to have a serious conversation like, okay, how do I, get a degree and still, maintain my scholarship? So I ended up switching to pre-law because I had taken some classes in my prereqs and I was like, oh, I kind of like this track. So that's how I ended up switching from chemistry to pre-law. I was like, sis, I just wanted to keep my scholarship and graduate. And it's so funny because that was the first time. So when I was growing up, I was the perfectionist, the girl who, sat at the front of the class, who, maintained A's and sometimes B's. And so to get into college and struggle, that was a jarring experience for me. And so, I pushed through and ended up switching my major. And I'm really happy I did because going into pre-law, it just kind of set off this kind of domino effect in my life where I ended up working at law firms. And then I worked at federal court and, had a bunch of great experiences, which kind of then led the way to me getting my eventual job after college, which brought me to Cambodia. It was just like a whole domino effect. So God is good. But yeah, that's how that happened.
I feel like that's a theme that we have with a lot of our guests, right? Like you have this unexpected moment along the journey, but actually that unexpected moment does like set off this row of dominoes that leads you to where you are today. So for anyone listening in, like don't get fearful when the journey doesn't go as you planned, right? Because you can plan. And as they say, like you plan and God laughs, right? So yeah.
And like you said, it's good to have a general vision. But what I've learned is just to be open to deviating from the path a little bit, because it might take you on these amazing journeys that add, color and flavor to your life experience, and also what you're able to then bring to the table. My experience living in Cambodia is not only an amazing conversation starter, but it literally taught me almost everything that I needed in order to, become a makeup artist and dominate super, super quickly. So, and if I had not been open to the possibility, open to saying yes when my boss came into the office, like, you want to move to Cambodia with us? Most people would have said no. But because I was like, all right, it set me on a path that, man, it was a defining moment in my life, truly.
So take us to that moment. So you're working for a beauty startup, right? And what happened?
So after college, I still had the beauty bug. I was working in the legal sector, and I'm like, man, yes, this makes good money. Yes, I could go to law school and be secure, but I know in my heart, this is not what I want to do. So I ended up just on a whim kind of reaching out to a woman who I knew had started, it was actually a hair extensions company. I knew she had just started this company, and I was like, hey, I'd be happy to help you answer emails, like whatever you need. I'm available. And she was like, well, I don't really need help with emails, but if you're willing to come to Denver, I need help in the studio. So I ended up packing my things like the next day and moving to Denver. And I worked with her for a couple months while she was traveling from Denver, back and forth from Denver to Cambodia, to get this, business established. And we ended up getting featured in Essence magazine. And that was kind of when the rubber met the road and things got crazy in a great way for the brand. And we started growing quicker than she could keep up with, traveling back and forth to Cambodia. So she came into the office one day, and I had been working for them for like 3 months, like still pretty new.
Pretty junior.
And yes. And she was like, listen, we can't, this is not sustainable. We need to be in one place so we can scale this business. I know that you just moved here from Albuquerque, but, I love having you on the team. Would you be willing to come to Cambodia? And I literally thought for 2 beats and was like, yeah, let's do this. Just because it just felt right. I felt like we were on to something, and I was just open to the adventure. And who else could say that they moved to Cambodia? So, I moved, I got rid of all my stuff, whatever couldn't fit into 2 pieces of luggage. And, I wound up staying in Cambodia for 2 years, building the company. And we literally built it from 0 to 7 figures. We were the first brand ever to offer real Cambodian hair. So Cambodian hair is kind of like the thing now, but we were the first to ever do it. And it was just such a wild experience and so much fun. And I learned so much, and it humbled me and it stretched me. And I feel like I became a woman through that experience.
How old were you?
Oh, fresh out of college. So how are you? Like 23?
23? What was your role at the company?
When I first started, when I first moved to Cambodia, I was over the customer service and order fulfillment department. So I literally had to create our fulfillment process. So when an order came in, I had to create what happens from that moment that we get an order. The challenge was my staff didn't speak English.
I was about to say.
Yes. So we had to problem solve. So we created this whole system where each thing on the order, we created symbols for it. And then we color coded things. So we created this language that didn't depend on language and verbal communication. And we had triggers, and it was just the craziest thing. So once we got that up and the client service department was bumping and we had it going, then I moved over to marketing and sales. So I then transitioned over to building up our social media presence and managing that day to day. So we did a little bit of everything, though. It was kind of like all hands on deck, whatever needs to happen that day has to happen. But yeah.
Earlier, you mentioned that that experience really help lay the foundation for a lot of the things that you teach in your Makeup Moguls class today. What do you think was the biggest business lesson or even marketing lesson that you were learning during this time about what it means to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing that I learned from my experience building that company, helping to build that company from the ground up, is no excuses, find the solution, period. Because when you are creating a business from zero, and certainly when you're creating, like we created a whole kind of market. There was no blueprint for us. We had to figure it out every single day. And every day wasn't a win. Like we had some moments where like orders weren't coming in and we had to figure out how to, make it happen. We had moments where there were theft, and we have like, there's just, you just always have to find the solution. My thing that drives me every day is like, I'm building a business from scratch and I have to wake up every day and kill it. And if I don't kill it, I don't eat. Right. And I learned that, from my experience in Cambodia. So now as a business person, but also as a coach and as a teacher, I love instilling some of that hustle, some of that grind into the artists that I teach, because, again, we're creating businesses from nothing. And so no one's going to build your business for you. You have to get up every day and grind and promote yourself and, post your work and send those connection emails and ask for opportunities, because if you don't, you are going to be left behind. More people than ever are entering the beauty industry, which is a good and a bad thing. It's a great thing because that's a sign of a healthy market, right? The fact that there are lots of women now who actually want makeup and want someone to come and apply their makeup, I love it. But at the same time, there's also lots of competition. So that means that you have to figure it out every single day, how you're going to stand out, how you're going to get your next client. And if you don't kill it, you don't eat. So, and that's what I learned from growing this business in Cambodia.
I know you even have an Instagram quote that says differentiation is the only thing that will overcome oversaturation, right?
Yeah, it is. Like when you're doing, here's the thing with makeup. Here's the thing with makeup nowadays, because it's so accessible, because you can just hop onto YouTube and watch a tutorial, because you can take a class like in a moment. Everyone's pretty good at doing makeup. So
Not
you
me.
Can't. The professionals.
I know.
Everyone who is, most people, let me say that. Most people who are putting themselves out there as a professional makeup artist are decent, are pretty darn good. So, you really can't just rely on talent alone. And what happens is when you rely on talent alone as the thing that you promote yourself on, and when you just show up and say, hey, I'm a good artist and you should book me, you're only giving your audience price as a differentiator. And if you only give your audience price, as a thing to differentiate you from the next artist, they're probably going to go for the cheaper artist if all things considered are equal. So the reason why I say differentiation is the only thing that will overcome oversaturation is because when you are different, when you are unique, when you have something that people want a piece of, they will be willing to pay a premium for it. So you have to find the way to make yourself different on the marketplace and find that way to make people fall in love with you. And that is going to be the way that you build a brand that people are like throwing their credit card at you because, you do something different and unique. And, people always want a part of something that's cutting edge, yep. Something that's creative. And so, like when you're the same, people won't pay you for that. So that's why I say that.
It's funny because I don't know why this imagery just came in my head. Don't laugh at me. I thought of you ever made popcorn from scratch, like on the stove or people want to be part of something that's popping, right? They want to be able to get yes. in your little popcorn pan and pop too. So that was the imagery that when it came in my head.
I love that.
But Tiyana, how did you go from director of marketing then to a makeup artist / CEO?
I worked for that company for about 2 years in Cambodia, and I got to the point where I was like, okay, I have to move back to the States. I'm over it. As much as I loved it there.
You don't like the food?
I was just ready. The food was the best thing, girl. The food was amazing in Cambodia. So, but I was lonely. I was so lonely, and I wanted a boyfriend because by that time I was like 25. You're like, I want a date. Ended up moving back to the States. 2 weeks after I moved back to the States, mind you, I got my apartment. I bought furniture. I had to buy clothes because remember, I had gotten rid of everything when I moved to Cambodia.
Yeah.
2 weeks after I got back to the States, I get a phone call from the owner of the company who was my mentor, and I loved her. She's like, "Oh, girl, you need to sit down." And Lord, we all know when somebody says you need to sit down, it is not good news. So what ended up happening was one of the co-owners of the company ended up embezzling all of the money out of the company account. And not only that, he had stolen the hair that we had in the supply house. So she was like, I have enough money in my personal account to pay staff for this month. And after that, we have nothing.
Well, you should see my face right now.
This is a true story. This is a true story. So I'm sitting in the middle of my living room that I just signed a lease for, and I have no job after, the next couple weeks. And I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? So I ended up getting a little job at a
Wait, where did you move to in the States?
I was in Denver.
Okay.
I moved back to Denver. If anyone is familiar with Denver, I moved to 16th Street, okay, which is not it's the expense, it's downtown. So imagine I'm living in a high rise in downtown, the center of the city. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I ended up getting a job at a nonprofit. Nonprofits don't pay. So literally my check from my nonprofit covered my rent. And
the Tootsie Roll.
Girl, I was eating spaghetti every night. Okay. So I was like, what am I going to? So I ended up finding somebody to fulfill my lease. I moved back home with my parents in New Jersey. And for me, that was a huge failure because I told you before, I was the perfectionist as a kid. I had spent my life trying to do everything that my parents taught me to do. And I went to college and I traveled and I did all the things. And I'm like, how did I end up here? How did I still manage to lose my job and have nothing? So I was at my parents' house, literally didn't have none, couldn't find a job, couldn't pay somebody to hire me because this was the recession at this point. And I was just like, what the heck am I going to do? I did have a boyfriend at the time. So my boyfriend lived in DC and he's like, well, why don't you just come to DC and see if you can get a government job? So that's how I ended up moving.
I feel like everybody who lives in DC always tries to tell you that. It's just government jobs just fall from trees. Sorry about that.
They tend to be stable. They tend to be stable and abundant. And that's just kind of the thing that you do in this area. Everybody works for the government here. So he's like, see if we can get a government job or whatever. I'm tired of hearing you complain about, being upset and depressed because you can't find a job. So I ended up moving to DC, moving in with him because I couldn't afford an apartment. My mama didn't know that at the time, but
she ain't gotta know.
So girl, we married now. It's okay. Mm-hmm. So we were out at a happy hour one day and a woman, he was introducing me to people. I'm a Delta. So he was just introducing me to different stores and stuff so I can make, connections and relationships and stuff. And so one of my stores was like, oh my gosh, I always see you on Instagram. I love the way you do makeup. Can you do my makeup for this event? Mind you, I had never done anyone's makeup before. I was just that girl that would watch YouTube videos all day and try to follow along. But something in me was like, girl, just say yes. So eventually I said yes. And that's how I, started doing makeup, but it felt really good. And for the first time, it felt like, oh, this is right. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is, my passion because I did her makeup for the first time. And when I tell you it was beautiful, it was beautiful. And usually when you do something for the first time, it's janky. It's a little crazy. No, this was beautiful makeup. So I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm going to do. And my thought was I was just going to do it on the side as a little side hustle while I, continued to look for a job. I ended up getting my job back with the hair extensions company. She got a loan or whatever and was able to, get production back up and going after a couple months. And so I worked full time with her remotely. And I was kind of sneaking off and doing makeup whenever I could. And my business just took off. So within 2.5, maybe 2.5 years, I built my business from literally zero to over 6 figures, which as a makeup artist, that is impressive.
That's amazing.
That's not normal, right? Because you have to, usually what happens is you spend a couple years cultivating your artistry, right? Because you have to get good at what you do. And then you have to build relationships and build your clientele. So for that to happen in such a short time, for me, it's just a sign that this is what I was meant to do and that I was moving in my purpose and what I was called to do. So that's how that happened.
COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too. If you feel symptoms, even if they're mild, you should test fast. Test positive and at high risk for severe COVID-19? Then act fast with authorized oral treatments that can be taken at home and must be taken within 5 days from when symptoms begin. COVID-19 moves fast, and now you can too by asking your healthcare provider if an oral treatment is right for you. Learn about a treatment option at treatcv19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
This episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by This Is Elle. Hey, my lady dream drivers. As a lot of you may know, I'm all about keeping it natural and keeping it healthy. And as a dream driver, I believe it is so important for us to take care of our mind, souls, and bodies. And the one time of the month that some of us may forget to do that is that time of the month, aka period time. So meet This Is Elle, period care inspired by nature. This Is Elle has a 100% organic cotton core. Elle tampons are organic cotton without that organic price. Elle is the #1 cotton brand in feminine care in the U.S., and it's made for everyone. Their tagline is, "We may not all look the same, but we are all created equal. So let's treat every person, every body, every vagina with love." Elle is for loving your body with clean and simple period care, free from synthetic pesticides and dyes. So as we're on this dream driving journey, let's invest in our feminine health, guys. If you're in the market for new feminine products, visit thisiselle.com to learn more. So what were some of the things that you were doing to actually go and, go from like an aspiring makeup artist to a 6-figure makeup artist, Tiyana?
So the first thing that I did was I invested in my craft. And I'm very serious about that. Like every time I want to level up in any area of my business or my life, I make an investment. For me, I just feel like, how can I ask my clients to make an investment in me if I'm not willing to invest in myself? So when I realized that makeup was my thing, the very first thing that I did was I invested in a class with, I don't know if you're familiar with Rennie Vasquez, but I love me some Rennie Vasquez. So I went to his class and because I wanted to learn how real makeup artists did makeup. Because again, I only knew what I knew from YouTube. So I was like, let me sit under a real makeup artist. There is a difference. There's a difference in the products that we use. There's a difference in our application and the thought process that goes into like the tools that we use. When you're a makeup artist, you're not doing makeup on yourself. You really have to understand people's features and how to bring out the best in, their canvas versus just kind of doing what you do on everyone. And I think that part of that is kind of what sets me apart is I'm not just kind of replicating the same makeup on everyone. I really strive to create a look that is so tailored to everyone that sits in my chair. And that's come through understanding the science and the art behind makeup artistry. So again, there is a technical aspect that I feel like is missed in YouTube because YouTube is usually just, some girl that loves makeup and is just doing it on herself. So she's mastered her own features, but she may not understand the why behind what she's doing. So that was the very first thing, is investing in myself. The next thing is I am relentless when it comes to promoting myself. And I feel like a lot of makeup artists have this fear around putting themselves out there. That was never my story. I'm not afraid to show my work, to share, and to promote myself and build relationships. That is so important as a makeup artist and as a creative. So referrals are really big for makeup artists. And so you want to build relationships with other vendors who may be working with the clients that you want to book. So for me as a makeup artist, if I want more weddings, I love building relationships with wedding photographers, with wedding planners, especially. So many referrals come from wedding planners who want to provide their brides with the best vendors. And so, I'm one of the artists that's on their list. So I nurture those relationships because I want to be thought of when they have a bride who wants, my specific type of makeup. Girl, please refer me. And so I make it a point to, nurture those relationships and reach out to new people who get on my radar, because there are new planners that are popping up that I'm like, oh, she's doing great work. Let me reach out and, see what's up. So that's such an important piece. I also make relationships with other makeup artists.
Talk about that, because I think a lot of times people get nervous about that because they're like, oh, I'm going to the competition. But is that really true? Like, how do you approach that?
It's true if you want it to be. Let me just say that. It's true if you want to, believe that other makeup artists are your competition, then sure. I mean, that can be true. Or you can hold the belief that you can't serve every client. There's only so many people that you can do makeup for. And not everybody who wants makeup is my client. I have a very specific signature look. And I feel like every makeup artist should have a very specific thing that they're known for many reasons. And it's one of the things that I teach inside of Makeup Mogul University. It's so important that you have a signature. Why? Because when you have a signature, you have something that your clients can call you for. Like, for example, my look, I love doing smokier looks. I love, lots of lashes. If you're familiar, like mink lashes, like that's my thing. Skin that looks a very specific way. Like when you see my work, you know it's my work, right? And I feel like I'm like the only person that can deliver that and can deliver the experience that I offer. And so when you create that and when you're confident in your work and what you do in that way, there's no one, I don't care about any other makeup artist, right? Because no one has my sauce, right?
Some of the things that you said that you invested in yourself, you were cultivating relationships, you created your signature look. And these are all things that you believe help you, or not believe, that helped you go from just an aspiring makeup artist to I'm doing this makeup artist.
Yes, aspire. And, again, not being afraid to promote yourself, to rely on your signature look, lead with that, building relationships. Like those are all such important pieces of building a brand. And it has helped me to create a business that is super sustainable, that, and I feel like we're going to talk about this, but allows me to make money even beyond the brush. So I think the really important piece is just taking ownership and getting clarity about what it is that you do and what you bring to the table that's different from everyone else, and putting that at the forefront of your brand. When you're dope, people are going to notice and are going to want a piece of that. We talked about that earlier. So, and just being consistent with it, like showing up consistently and not being afraid to talk about how dope you are. That's, been the vehicle that's helped to take me from just a makeup artist to what I love to call makeup mogul.
So what were some of the challenges, though, that you were facing during this time, or maybe even facing now as far as like growing the brand, the Tiyana Robinson beauty brand?
One of the biggest challenges that I faced was around my mindset. It took me a really long time and a lot of work, a lot of personal development work to understand what was going on. And as I was doing this work, I realized that I was telling myself stories about what I was capable of. And those stories go all the way back to my childhood. And I want to share this because I feel like this is going to resonate with a lot of people out there. My mother had me when she got pregnant at 16, had me when she was 17. She made a lot of sacrifices for myself and for my sister. And growing up, I told myself that I was a mistake. Because certainly when you have a child at 17, that has to be a mistake, right? And so, I went through my life always wanting to prove my worthiness to her. Like, I wanted to be the best student because I wanted to feel like I wanted to let her know that even though I was a mistake, I was worthy of being here. I wanted to earn a scholarship because she had sacrificed so much to raise me and my sister and my dad too. But my parents had sacrificed so much and worked so hard. I watched my dad work like 5 jobs at a time to be able to provide a life that they never had. And so I always just wanted to be a shining star for, my parents, because I wanted them to feel like their sacrifices weren't in vain. And while that's a great thing, like, I feel like being a perfectionist can be a great thing because, as a business owner, it shows up in your work, right? Mm-hmm. My penchant for being a perfectionist is I feel like one of the things that helped me to craft a brand and grow a business that took off really quickly. It was also a mental prison. Perfectionism can be awful at the same time. It can be paralyzing. It can be debilitating. For me, it started manifesting into not showing up for my husband because my business was the most important thing. I wanted it to be
You had
successful.
to prove it, right?
I had to prove that I could do this. I took a leap to become a makeup artist and I wanted to prove everyone wrong. And so, we go through life telling ourselves these stories. And the crazy thing is I went to lunch with my mother, about a year ago now. And my husband and I have been married for about 3 years. And so we're at the point where we're thinking about having kids. And so I was having a conversation with my mom. And I was like, Mom, you had me when you were 17. How the heck were you such an amazing mother? I mean, my parents were so awesome. And by the time she was like 23, they had 2 kids, a house, a dog. Like,
wow. It seemed like they had their stuff together more than I do right now. And I'm 28.
I'm 32. And I'm like, I posted this meme the other day and I just thought it was so funny. I'm like bribing myself with cookies to do my laundry. Like, I just don't even have it together. And I was telling my mom that I was like, how the heck did you guys have it together so young? And I don't know how this came up, but I was like, given that, I wasn't planned, and she was like, wait a minute, what? And I was like, yeah, you had me when you were 17. And she was like, girl, you were planned. We had you on purpose. And in that moment, I was like, oh.
Was it a relief though? How did you feel?
Oh my gosh. It was simultaneously a relief, but also it kind of jarred me because I went through my whole life believing this thing about myself, believing that I was a mistake. Do you know how it feels to believe that your very existence was a mistake? So you have to prove with everything that you do that you are worthy of that, it just, like I said, it became a prison. And so when that story wasn't true anymore, I was like, you have to create another identity for yourself, essentially. And so I'm so thankful for that experience of getting that understanding that, wow, we go through life making up stories about who we are and what we're worthy of all the time. And, as I have, gone through that and gotten over that and now understand that, oh no, I am very worthy. I am here on purpose. I am purpose filled, and everything that I do is for a reason that has purpose. It's also given me a level of empathy as I coach and teach other artists that, wow, they're going through life with all these stories that they've accumulated along the way. Mm-hmm. And so getting back to the question, the biggest challenge for me was overcoming those mental hurdles. But I understand that for so many makeup artists, those mental hurdles are the very thing that are holding them back in their business. I work with so many artists that are talented. They're so talented and they're terrified. They're terrified to put themselves out there. They're terrified to promote their work. They don't want to be rejected. They're terrified because they have a family that's telling them they're crazy for pursuing makeup artistry. We have all of these things that we're coming to the table with. So from a teacher perspective, from a coach perspective, it's challenging. It's challenging because I want to share all this strategy. But before I can share strategy, we got to get through the story. And we got to get down to the rock bottom of, what are you coming to the table with? And how do we get down to the bottom of this so that you can take the information that I'm sharing with you, the strategy and all the do this, do that, and actually implement it. So, we're dealing with women who are sensitive and we've got all the things. So it's just been an interesting journey of becoming a makeup mogul myself and then teaching other women how to become moguls in their businesses and lives, because I thought it was a conversation about business strategy when really it's a conversation about how do we dismantle the stories and the limiting beliefs that we've been collecting along the way so that we can show up as the biggest, brightest versions of ourselves in every aspect of our lives, not just our businesses. And it's a hard process because you have to face those stories, but it's also one of the best and most liberating processes that you can go on.
I love that you mentioned that because I forgot who I was asking this on one of my past episodes, but it's even interesting, even when I do like surveys for Dreams and Drive and I ask listeners, what's your biggest business challenge? What's your business personal challenge? The most common answer that I have is fear and doubt.
Yeah.
Like I thought people would say, oh, it's marketing. Oh, it's finances or funding. It's fear and it's doubt.
It's fear and doubt. Because the truth is, we have look, you can find the answers on Google and YouTube if you really wanted them. It's not the strategy. It's really not. It's the mental hurdle. It's I'm scared to do this. We know what to do at the end of the day. We know what to do. Post your stuff. We know what to do. Network. I mean, at the end of how many different ways can we say the same thing? It's not that. For most people, it's fear. It's doubt. It's, limiting beliefs. It's all the mindset stuff.
How did your life change or how did your business change once you had this realization about your true story?
When I tell you it changed everything, I'm not scared of nothing. You hear me? I don't care. It liberated me in such an incredible way. I'm not afraid to pursue opportunities. I'm not afraid to ask for what I believe I'm worth. I am not afraid to try new things. Mm-hmm. It just gave me a sense of courage and a sense of purpose, that, it just gave me this courage to just go for whatever I aspire to desire. I just believe that I can do it, or I can figure it out, or I can make a connection and find someone that can, point me in the right direction. So it just liberated me. It really did.
So why the decision to launch Makeup Moguls? And how did this realization, I guess, influence that? And you wanting to find not only a new revenue stream, but the ability to scale your reach, right? And not just help your direct clients, but help other creative artists as well.
Yeah. So Makeup Mogul University is an online business school specifically for makeup artists. And the reason why I was inspired to create MMU is because you can go to YouTube or you can invest in a masterclass to learn how to do makeup. But where do you go to learn how to be an entrepreneur and to think entrepreneurially? Like, even if you've gone to college and you've gotten a degree in business or marketing or whatever, you really don't learn the ins and outs of monetizing your business as a creative, especially in the age of social media, because things move so quickly that like a traditional degree just can't keep up. So I wanted to create a place where makeup artists could go to learn how to turn their passion for makeup into profit. Now, my vision for Makeup Mogul University has changed a bit because I originally thought it was all about the courses and classes. But what I'm realizing is it's not just about the courses and classes. It's about the implementation. That's where the value is. So now what we're creating is a community, a collective where artists can go and yes, they can get the information. But what really makes it pop off is we're going to hold your hand as you implement. So I absolutely love that. The reason why I'm so passionate about MMU is because it's so much bigger than just makeup. When you learn how to be an entrepreneur and how to think creatively, and when you go from being a consumer to being a creator, your life changes. I'm so clear that money, because at the end of the day, we're just teaching people how to make more money. Money is a vehicle to choices. And one of my top core value is freedom. I want so much freedom in my life. I want my family to be free. I want us, women who look like me, to be free in our lives. And when you learn how to create money, not just earn, we don't earn money, we create it. And when you learn how to do that, you become free in your life. When you say, you know what, I want to go on vacation next week. And you make that switch in your mind. It's not about, let me earn enough money for my job. No, I'm going to create that $2,000 that I need. So let me think. All right, I'm going to put this marketing campaign together. And I know that if I sell 4 packages for $500 in a day, I can have my vacation. That is a shift. And, so many of us are not raised to think that way. Is my math correct? My math is not my strong.
Yeah, 4 by 5. Yeah, that's 20. Add 2 zeros. 2,000.
Right.
You good. You good, girl.
So we're not raised to think that way. Certainly I wasn't. I was raised to, listen, you gonna go to school, you gonna get this good job, and you gonna retire. That was the life. That's not the life that I want for us. I want a life where we have choices, we have freedom, and that's why I am so passionate about Makeup Mogul University. I love this story. So there's one artist who is in Makeup Mogul University, and she was like, yeah, so we took what we learned and we implemented it in my husband's business. Her husband teaches music. And he went from, I think she said like 20 students to 200. The point is they have over 200 students now. I think he has 5 instructors under him. This is about learning how to create. And I just love it. I love it.
What's the biggest aha moment that your students have when it comes to learning how to create? Is there something in the learning how to create process that a lot of us are missing?
I think that the very first, it's the first step. It's the clarity. So many artists come to me and I'm like, okay, well, what's the goal? Like, what do you want? And I'm like, oh, I want more clients. Okay, but specifically, what is more clients to you? Like, let's walk through the numbers. So it's the clarity part. We have a vision that we want and we keep it big, but we never really get granular. And so I think the biggest aha moment is, I can create this, right? Like, this is easy. The first step, though, is getting clarity and being brave enough to even say, I want to make $1,000 in a week. What does that look like? So we have to have the courage to say what we want and then break it down into real, actionable, tangible steps. All right, if I know I want to make $1,000, how can I get there as quickly as possible in a way that is in alignment with my values and allows me to, have the business that I want to create for myself. We're not in the business of, creating cookie cutter makeup artists in Makeup Mogul University. So if you say that you want $1,000 brides, I will help you create that. If you say that you want a business where you just work online and you don't want to actually physically do makeup, we can create that too. So you get to create whatever your vision is. This is just the container for it. So to answer your question, the aha moment is making money is easy, but you first have to have the clarity about what you want and be bold and brave enough to even say it.
Are you still working with clients or are you doing Makeup Mogul University solely?
So this year, we're in 2019 right now. So this year, I've taken a step away from working with clients just so I could focus on getting Makeup Mogul University off the ground. But now that we've officially launched and we've got artists in it, and I feel like my process is pretty good. Starting in 2020, I'm going to be working with clients again. So I basically took the year off to focus on Makeup Mogul University because it was just getting a lot, and it was hard for me to balance this plus clients and give my clients the attention that they deserve, and my husband. So I stepped away from the clients for just a second.
From just a logistical standpoint, though, was it hard to go from being a makeup artist to a course creator and coaching clients? That's yes. A different shift. How did you manage that?
Yes, it was so hard because I had, when you're figuring it out, you're figuring it out. And so, man, it was so difficult. And I was like drained and pulled in 10,000 directions. And I just didn't know what, it was that whole thing. And so I got to a point where I had to stop and make some decisions. And that's how I ended up saying, all right, I have to step away from accepting makeup clients for just a second. This is just a season. And I think that's the thing, understanding that there's a season for everything. And while you're in the midst of it, it may not always feel good. But again, having that clarity of, I understand what the bigger picture is for my business and my life, allowing yourself to ebb and flow between your seasons. Like, this is my season for Makeup Mogul University. And then next season might be something different. So I think it's just allowing yourself to kind of ebb and flow and not feeling like your business has to look like a certain thing. It doesn't have to look like anything. You get to create whatever it is that you want. And so for me, that was, I always keep that with me. Like, I get to create the life that I want. And if something doesn't feel good, I get to change it. It doesn't have to be a certain way.
What does being a dream driver mean to you? When you think of the word dream driving, what comes to mind?
Yeah, it means exactly what I just said. Like, literally understanding that you are in the driver's seat of your life. You get to make decisions and choices. Your business doesn't have to look like anyone else's. So again, start with the clarity of what you want to create. It's like getting into a car without, typing in your destination into the GPS. For me, I always keep my vision for my business typed into my GPS. And along the way, there may be detours. I may try this or try that, but I only say yes to opportunities that move me in the direction of where I want my business and life to go. And that's the thing that keeps me focused. Being a dream driver is having clarity of what it is that you want your life to feel like, and keeping that as your North Star in your journey.
What are the ingredients in the gas that goes in your car? If that makes any sense. Like, what keeps you? That's the first time I asked that question. What keeps you fueled, or who keeps you fueled? Like, what's part of that recipe?
My recipe, and I'm going to keep saying this because it is so true, clarity. What do you want? Consistency, showing up for yourself, showing up for your business, showing up for your clients. Hustle. I don't know when hustle became a bad word. Hustle is not a bad word for me. Hustle keeps me going. It wakes me up every day. And also staying aligned with my purpose. I talked about, like, this is bigger than makeup. For me, what wakes me up in the morning and like gets me going is knowing that every day that I show up, it's an opportunity for another woman to have that aha moment in her life, and another woman to realize that she can create whatever it is that she wants in her business. And so that is it's a huge passion for me. And so staying tethered to my why keeps me going. So that's my recipe. So clarity, consistency, hustle, that get up and go, and also staying tethered to my purpose on this earth.
I could not end this interview without asking you your biggest marketing hack. You are, I would want to say, a great marketer, right? For any creative, any dream driver, what's one little marketing hack that you've learned over the years that has really helped your business?
Marketing and advertising, to me, are two different things. When I think of marketing, I think of the conversations that I have every day with my audience on my Instagram. So I love me some Instagram. That's where I've built my business. It's where it started. It's where I am. So the conversations that I show up and I have daily on my Instagram, that's my marketing, because I get direct insight from my clients about the questions that they're asking, what their challenges are. They tell me what they want and I create it, and I use their language that they're saying on Instagram. I just talk right back. I say it right back to them. So that's the biggest hack that I can give. Show up on whatever platform it is and just have conversations with your audience about whatever it is that you do. For me, it's makeup. My audience is makeup artists who want to pop off in their business. And so I'm constantly just sharing information. I'm teaching, I'm educating, I am being insightful. I'm talking about what the latest thing is, and I'm listening to my audience. And I'm always looking for, how can I create solutions that get them the results that they want? And I simply just use the language that they tell that they're using on my Instagram. And that has worked for me. You get those people that are like, you read my mind. And I'm like, yeah, girl. Because I'm listening and I'm just talking. I'm saying exactly what you just said to me back to you. And I'm creating the solution based upon that.
Yep. And then does that translate into sales then? If people have great marketing, does it always necessarily mean you'll have great sales?
I believe so. I believe if you have a great product and you are, using a language that speaks directly to your client, that's the quickest way to the money. It is the most direct way to the money because they literally told you what it is that you want. Great marketing is, the easiest way to lots of sales to me.
Last question, Tiyana, before we enter our lightning round. Well, it's not really a question. It's a quote that I want to read back to you that actually came from your recent entrepreneur feature. And in it, you say your career is only limited by your imagination.
I believe that.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Your career, okay. So I was recently profiled on entrepreneur.com, and I said that your career is only limited by your imagination. And so what I mean by that is you can literally create whatever you want. Now is the best time ever to be an entrepreneur because we've got access to the internet. We've got access to social media. So we've been given platforms. So your phone is your platform. Your phone is your microphone, right? So we've got access to all the tools. And we've got people who are so dang on talented. So when you combine talent with access to an audience and access to a platform, what you can create is limitless. You're literally only limited by how expansive your imagination is. And I love to teach that to my artists inside MMU. I'm like, you want to create an online course? You want to create a whatever the heck? We can do that. Like, dream big and we'll create it together. So that's what I mean by that.
Where can our listeners connect with you if they want to learn more about your business, they want to sign up for Makeup Moguls University? Where can we connect with you online?
So Makeup Mogul University is makeupmoguluniversity.com. I am on Instagram daily. So I am at Tiyana Robinson Beauty on Instagram. And if you're the YouTube kind of chick, you can find me on YouTube. Makeup Mogul TV.
So, Tiyana, in order to be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success. So can you tell me 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road?
Focus. That's probably the first one. Focus on your goals. Focus on what it is that you want to create. The internet. I don't think enough people really put, enough value on this expansive tool that we all have access to, which is the internet. Google is free, and I learned so much just by I Google everything. You hear me? YouTube is another one. That's the way that I started. And literally, it's one of the best tools that you can use in your business. I also love podcasts. So I feel like use the resources that are available to you first. So internet, Google, YouTube, podcasts, Facebook groups are a huge resource when you're thinking about how do you launch a business, when you're thinking about building connections and community, leverage all of those online tools. I feel like that is what you need in order to put your dream into drive.
So, Tiyana, you have the opportunity to create the ending credits for your movie, right?
Oh
movie
my gosh.
of your life.
Oh my gosh.
What's the sentence that you want people to remember? What do you want to be displaying in the end credits of your movie?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, I think we hit it earlier. I think my quote is, you're only limited by your imagination. I think that summarizes what I believe, how I teach, how I strive to show up every day. That is so core to who I am. I feel like if I had to end my movie on just a little bing, that would be what I would want to show up.
All right, so that was a wrap for our chat with Tiyana Robinson. I hope you enjoyed hearing her dream driving journey as well as her keys to success. If you love this episode, please, please, please share with a friend. As you guys know, I love it when you guys are sharing on social media, Instagram stories, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever. Remember, you can find Dreams in Drive across the board on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are Dreams in Drive, and also use the hashtag Dreams in Drive when posting and sharing. I love to go in and comment and engage with you all. If you are not already subscribed to us, wherever you're listening to this episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you get notifications every time we have a new episode. And if you're listening in on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. We had so many good ratings last week, so many new reviews, and I want to make sure we keep that momentum alive. I count on you guys each week to help grow the community. And I had this full circle moment this week with a listener turned creative collaborator, Tanika Davis. And, I just want to say, you never know. I say this all the time, but I need to say it again because you never know who you'll meet and you never know how you're inspiring somebody. And Tanika has been a longtime listener of the show. And this past weekend, I got to work with her on a photo shoot. And just how that came to be and just how all the moving parts came together. It's just a testament to just keep putting in the work. There's going to be times when you aren't sure of how things are going. There's going to be times when you want to give up. But as Tiyana said, you have to keep going. You have to remember how dope you are. You have to keep practicing and honing your skill and your craft. And I'm telling you, it's all going to work out, guys. It's all going to work out. Make sure that you get on our newsletter, though, so that you get that weekly inspiration delivered right to your email inbox. Just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join to sign up. Keep dreaming, keep driving. Have a great week. And we'll chat again in episode 215. Bye, guys.